and is obviously one of those top guys now. He's in the top 10 in terms of defensive ends of where he was going to be drafted. He's out of Dublin, Georgia. And Vincent, when he was at the 2A level, which a smaller school, early in high school, playing for a state championship, it does that. I believe his sophomore year in high school. So really, if you ask me, there's a certain edge that you have when you win, and then you go back and you've got another year, and there's some guys around you that had played for a championship. You prepare a little bit differently. You work a little bit harder. You tend to rally around the troops a little bit, and that certainly was something that he was able to do. But one of the issues that we have with Romello is that he went to Auburn out of college, University of Southern California for 2 years, Georgia Tech, and then he finally lands at Texas Tech. Is any of that an issue for you in terms of, I don't know why he didn't stay a little bit longer at one of those places. Is that something that would be a detriment, or did it give him a chance to get different experiences, learn from different coaches, and really learn to maximize his game?
Well, myself personally, I'm not an NFL scout or expert or savant like our co-host, Mr. Clinkscales. I'm just a guy, a fan. Let me straighten my head up there. Thank you. But me personally, that doesn't bother me because what I see is a guy that can get after the passer. That's got a lightning quick first step. A guy that this season played on a very strong Texas Tech defense. Everybody was talking about David Bailey, but Mr. Height kind of caught my eye, but really he caught my eye at Georgia Tech last year. But it would have no concern with me simply because he was productive. Like I said, in a league that needs pass rushers get paid. Seeing him on a couple of, I want to say, highlights, him coming off the edge and getting to that quarterback, that got me excited. And I'm going to watch what I'm saying when I start comparing some because I don't want Mr. Clean to lose his mind. But to me, I'm going to go back to old days of the Southwest Conference. We had a guy that's been against on our show, the old coach himself, Jackie Sherrill, shouts out. And I think Harper might not remember, but I was talking about this player that was first team all Southwest Conference back in the day. Hell of a prospect out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Aaron Wallace. Reminds me a lot of Aaron Wallace, how he gets after the passer, how he really has different instincts, different moves, and most of all about Mr. Hyde, when he gets to his target, he punishing you. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Absolutely. Well, he tested so well in a couple of areas. He was the leader for the defensive ends in a lot of the speed categories, or at least way up there at the top. He ran a 4.64, if I'm not mistaken. Joey, his broad jump and his vertical were as good as anybody that tested there in the combine. What impressed you?
Well, the numbers impress you, first and foremost. The guy's 6'3", 239 with a 39-inch vertical and 10.5 broad jump. We just talked about a receiver that didn't have those numbers a few minutes ago. So those are things that are important from an athletic standpoint. Now, from a play skill standpoint, I have some concerns about this player. We talked about the 4 schools. I as a scout, as a personnel guy, I have concerns about the fact that you go to 4 schools. I have concerns about the fact when I watch you play, I'm concerned about your strength and contact balance. I know that he has elite first step quickness. He can get off the ball. He can get around the tackle. And I'm watching the games that he had a ton of production against. And we obviously can't pick out our opponents, but none of those guys he was seeing on the other side are ever going to sniff the NFL. I'll tell you that. I'm afraid of his upper body strength. I'm afraid of his hips. His hips scare me because he's a narrow hip player. So if I'm, as a personnel guy, if I'm trying to put him somewhere, first of all, he can't play defensive end. He's too light in the pants to play defensive end. Okay. I could play him at Sam probably, linebacker, but I'm running at him all the time because he's not strong. Okay. I could probably play him at weak side backer. Okay. At weak side backer, he's going to have to cover. He's going to have to cover in space at time to time, and he can't do that now. He can drop in zones, and he can do that. So the best thing for this player is to be on the line of scrimmage and rushing the passer. So right now that tells me he's a 2-down player max. Okay. On rundowns, if he's on the field, I'm running at him every single time.
Yeah.
because he is light in the pants. He can't hold up at the point of attack. So when you're visualizing what these guys can be, you have to see the big picture. And the big picture is he struggles to set the edge. He can as a pass rusher, he can close. He can get around the corner. He can bend the edge and he can close. And that's valuable in the NFL. Okay, but it's valuable at what price? Okay, is it valuable to the point where I can't play him on rundowns, or I don't know where to line him up because I'm gonna go off the deep end here, so bear with me. Is it because he went to 4 schools, he never got in the weight room, and he and the strength aspect of his game is problematic? So when I see 4 schools, those are the things that go through my mind. He's never had a chance to really train because he's always going from point A to point B to point C to point C. I mean, he never created a home. So, and did he get 10 sacks? Because the other guy beside him was getting doubled most of the time. All those things come into play, but at the end of the day, he got the production. Both guys got production. So I like the fact that he was productive. Okay, I like the fact that I can see the first step quickness and explosion off the ball, and you can see that. So that 39-inch vertical tells you he's got explosion in his hips. You can see that in his play.
Yeah, you
can see that explosion when he step in, step out, go around the guy, bend the shoulder, get a sack. You can also see in his play when somebody get their hands on him, they block him 2 zip codes over. So those things are concerning when you talk about a player like this.
Joey, I want to follow up before I go to Vincent. I'm not making a comparison with the player I'm going to mention in just a second. I'm just saying, from my perspective, I know a few years ago when the Atlanta Falcons drafted Vic Beasley out of Clemson, one of the great things about him is his get off from the snap. There were people that said he has to know what the snap count is and know exactly when the court. He had a tremendous get off, but at 245 pounds, he was about the same size. I'm not saying that Romello is Vic Beasley. I'm just saying one of the things I noticed, tackles would set back a little bit more, and he only had one move, which is I'm going to try to get around you, and they would just ride him by the quarterback, and he went from having a real good rookie year to where people figured him out, and he was too small. I'd run right at him as well, and dare a 245-pound kid to try to stop my 315-pound guy, and you're going to lose that battle every time. Is there any portion of that if he does get to 255 or 250, let's say, against 10 pounds, but now he can't run with the same speed, is that a concern as well?
Well, I think the concern is the lower body strength. Okay. So whether he's 240 or he's 265, if he doesn't have lower body strength, that's going to be a concern, because once you put your hands on him, if he doesn't have a strong base and a strong core, you're pushing him out of the way. But like Vic Beasley, this guy has really explosive first step quickness. He gets off the ball and he gets into that guy really quick. So you can see games where he's really productive because he especially on games where he goes outside and come back underneath and he has a burst to the quarterback. So he has all the athletic traits. It's the physical traits that you are concerned with this player, along with the fact that, in the run game, and you know what? Playoff football, you got to run the ball. The teams that are really good, they are able to run the football. And if this guy's on the field, there's not a play I'm not running at him.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to prove that he has put the work in. He can set the edge, and he can tackle in space. And because right now, all I can see him doing is rushing the passer, and that's great if you're playing against Kansas. It's not great if you're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Vincent, after that, we have a couple of things that, a little bit light and all that, but gosh, his speed, his ability to get to the quarterback, he really proved that he became a better player, even though he's been at some other schools. I think he really refined what he was able to do, use the speed as his number one weapon, but for obvious reasons, he's going to have a second move, and one of those is going to have to either require a tremendous amount of additional speed, or he's going to have to develop some power. Your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, you get paid a lot of money if you can rush the pass in the National Football League. I Obviously, he's not going to be, I think, a three-down player. But I think about the young man that didn't get drafted, had a brother named Michael Bennett, that played with the Seahawks. Used to wear the little shoulder pads. He made a lot of money getting after the quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see him kind of in that aspect. All depends
Or
what
Bruce
team
Irvin,
drafts
you
him.
know, another guy. Bruce Irvin was a
There you
third
go,
down guy.
Harper.
Right?
There you go. So at the end of the day, I think teams already kind of understand what we're seeing with Mr. Hyatt. I think Mr. Clinkscales is kind of brutal on him, saying that the competition on the Big 12. I hope don't nobody get upset, Big 12 fans, that it's real weak
The
over
tape
there.
don't lie. Look at the tape.
What about BYU and Utah though, sir?
What about BYU?
Yeah, they're good team. They good teams. They good teams. But I'm gonna say this. The young man played at four schools. Very interesting points that Mr. Cleanscales brought up, that he really didn't stay in one place at one time. But I tell you what, football players that come out of that Dublin area, they be about that life. They're strong-minded football players, and like I said, this is a guy. To me, 27 tackles for loss, 16.5 sacks. I'm not looking for him to go into the league and being a guy that's going to be a guy that's going to be really serious against the run. But we all know, and you're right, Joey. Playoff football is a different level of football where teams tend to get more physical. They tend to run the football. But during the regular season, you know, teams like to throw their football. And right now, with the landscape, that game in the air is more lethal right now in the National Football League. A guy like this in the right situation that can get out to the pass with other good defensive linemen, I think he's going to be a pretty good stay in the league. Rushing the passer now. And that's a lot of people getting paid for that. Back to you, Mr. Harper LeBel.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You know, he goes to Auburn, he ends up at USC, gets hurt his first year at USC, he earns a starting position there, and is out for the season with the shoulder injury. He had 20 tackles and 4 sacks in 2023. Last year, 2 years ago at Georgia Tech, he had 34 tackles, 2.5 sacks at Tech before he ends up going to Tech. 38 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks. And then, as you both had mentioned, David Bailey was a part of that as well. Was David getting double teamed to allow for him to have a one-on-one?
Mm-hmm.
And he uses his speed against some guys that aren't NFL caliber, but you know what? He still had 10 sacks, so he obviously made an impression. There are some things he needs to work on. We talked a little bit about him being light, but Joe, your overall perspective would be, you know, where do you think he goes in terms of, you know, what other general managers are thinking? Does he drop because of his weight, or does he stay kind of where he is in the top 10 based on one thing that can't coach is fast feet and speed?
You know, it's hard to say. Again, you know, this was his really first year of sack production. I mean, I watched tape at Georgia Tech of him last year, and he got close a lot of times and never finished the deal. I think he finished with 2.5 sacks, but he got close a lot of times, which says something about, again, he's got some twitchiness, which is hard to find. He's probably going to be a stand-up player that's going to be in combination with a lot of guys. So on pass downs, they're going to put him in the game with 3 or 4 other kind of pass rush type guys, and hopefully he can beat a guy on a twist and get to the quarterback. So I can see that in year 1 for this player, maybe year 2 for this player. But the main thing he has to do is get stronger. You know, he is strength deficient right now, especially in his lower body. He is easily knocked off balance, and I call that contact balance. He lacks some strength and contact balance. So when you put your hands on him, when that tackle put their hands in his chest, again, you can knock him 3 holes down because he just lacks lower body strength. And I'm not talking about I'm talking about professional football players. I'm not talking about college football players.
Yep.
I'm talking about guys that get paid for a living, that's got children they got to feed. I mean, so they're playing with intent.
Yeah.
So this guy has to get physically stronger.
And that tape gets around, and people watch, and you're gonna get hit every play if we find out that there's a weakness, right?
Oh, absolutely. Once they know your strength and your weakness,
yep,
then you can count on them playing to your weakness.
I agree. Absolutely. And it shows up on film, and if everybody has a chance to see it in the league, yes, he will get his hands, someone else's hands will be on him on every play trying to knock him down.
And
Vincent,
I like his motor.
before we go.
I like his motor for the most part. He's got a really good motor. Now, every now and again, he'll take it off, but that's no different than any other player. But he has a motor, so he has a lot of tools that you really like. But in a combat sport, you'd like for him to be more combative at times.
Yeah. And how can you guys be saying this? Look at all the great things that he did while he was at Tech and then his year at Georgia. I'm not saying he's not a great college quarter or college football player. He's not someone I'm beating up for that. However, when you transfer to the next level, and that's what we're doing, that's why we're looking at these guys the way that we are. And Vincent, final thoughts from you is just, there's some things that he's going to have to work on very quickly. He could be in the league for a long time. But if it's just based on speed, someone is going to take advantage of that because you have to be strong too. So I agree with you, Joey. It is a concern. Absolutely. Go ahead, Vincent. Final thoughts.
Obviously, as Mr. Clinkscales said, he has to get strong in the lower body. But like I said before, I think this gentleman, when it's all said and done, I think he's going to be a special player rushing the passer. And I don't expect teams, whatever team drafts him, let me say this, I think they know coming in that they're going to draft him as a situational pass rusher to start off. But my final words to Mr. Hyde, I love the first name, Romello. I thought about if I ever had a son, I'd like him name him Romello, but I didn't. I had girls. But guns up, Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes. Back to you, Harp.
Well, final thoughts from you, Joey.
No, Texas Tech had a really good football program, and he contributed to it. Between the linebacker, the middle linebacker, between Bailey, the other defensive end. They had a defensive tackle that's a really good player. So defensively, they were a really good football team. So I'm excited to see where this guy goes. I'm curious to know the plan that someone has for him because the coaches that I've been around, this guy has to be scheme specific. Okay, especially early on, else he will not be productive because I don't see right now a real role for him on special teams because of the lack of strength. He is athletic, but I don't see a major role there for him. So, again, a team that takes him, they have a plan for him, and all it takes is one team. So, it depends on what the value is for him, and that could be in the third round, that could be in the fourth round, because what we aren't. We're looking at at a list and saying, okay, he's a 10th ranked defensive end, but really he's not a defensive end. Okay, he's a outside. He's a linebacker / edge rusher is what he is. So because the defensive end will have to play, will have to be able to set the edge and do those things in the run game, and this is not what this guy is.
Yeah, playing a 7 is a completely different position, and you have to stop the run and keep everything from going outside. You got to turn it back in for obvious reasons. Well, we want to thank you for watching the show here. This has been the 2024 NFL Draft Prospect Show, along with Vincent Romello Turner and Joey Clinkscales. I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in. We also like to say thank you to Shane at Atlanta Fitness 24/7. If you want to beef up, if you want to tone up, or if you want to shape up, give Shane a call and ask him about what the rates are and how you can get your body to be what you would like for it to be at Atlanta Fitness 24/7. In the meanwhile, we'd like to say thank you for watching the show, to the NFL Draft Prospect Show featuring Romello Height, defensive end / edge rusher out of Texas Tech University. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. Tell a friend if you don't mind, and help us to grow. We greatly appreciate it. In the meanwhile,